Well, hi, everybody. Welcome to the MenoLounge. I'm Julie Gordon-White, CEO of MenoWell, Menopause, Energy, and Protein Bars. And I'm in a different location today. This is not my office. This is not my bedroom. I'm actually in Anaheim. It's literally been planes, trains, automobiles from Vegas last week at Tamsin's amazing, hottest menopause party in the world. And I think the cat's out of the bag that the week before I had the honor of being at Oprah Winfrey's taping of her new menopause special with Dr. Mary Claire and Halle Berry and Naomi Watts and Maria Shriver. We had so many pause pals there. It was really, really fun. So I can't wait for you to see it on March 31st. And now I'm in Anaheim at the Natural Food Show because guess who's back? Double chocolate brownie. It has been a thing. You know, all of you M Factor folks watching the screening of the film Shredding the Silence, which is so amazing, have been eating all the bars, and so we sold out. So glad. Thank you everyone who literally thousands of bars pre-ordered. They are on their way to Fulfillment Center. They're going to get racked on the shelves and packed in the boxes and on their way to you. So thank you so much for your trust and patience. They're coming. Okay, to switch today, we have kind of a different topic, and we're talking about prednisone. And you're thinking, okay, MenoWell, why are we talking about prednisone? You know what? I'm going to bring up our expert, and we're going to tell you why we're talking about prednisone. I see you, Dr. Megan. Let me just grab you right here. So you're like, please, 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 please. I did a practice run, but still, I never trust it. Dr. Megan, how are you?
Hello, I'm just great today. Thanks for having me.
I'm so glad. This is really a special topic to me. So first, let me just introduce you, Dr. Megan Milne. She is the prednisone pharmacist. She has a special story to tell you as to why she is focused on this. But who knew that women who take prednisone have symptoms that really mimic menopause? And it's such a super thing, as a drug for the things that it's intended to do. And then also it does wreak some havoc on our body related to nutrients, which is why, one of the reasons why we really connected when we met in a business group. Also, my personal story is that my grandmother had very serious lung disease. My mom has some lung health and has had to experience prednisone. So listen up, ladies. This is going to be important, kind of different, but actually there's always a through thread for you too. So Dr. Megan, tell us your story. How did you decide I am going to be the pharmacist for prednisone? You have almost 13,000 subscribers on YouTube.
Yeah.
This is a real thing.
If you had told me when I started pharmacy school that I would become the pharmacist for one drug, I would have laughed at you. Like, how can a pharmacist talk about one drug for 7 years straight? It seems mind-blowing. And so what happened is, for a lot of people like me, it's my story is I had to take that drug. And as a pharmacist, I didn't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole because I knew how harmful and how horrible the side effects are. I didn't want to go anywhere near that. But I had no choice. I woke up one morning with a rash. I had little red dots on my neck. And I was like, what is that? And kind of like, those women get as they're older, those little red dots.
Yes, we know, Megan.
Hundreds of them. What could this be? And I realized that it was spreading, that it wasn't just my neck, it was going down. And it was in the evening when that happened, and I woke up in the morning and it had spread. And I thought, this is bad. So I go to my dermatologist because I had recently been taking an antibiotic. I thought maybe I was having some drug side effects and they could help me. And then they did all of these thinking together, collaborating with each other, and they couldn't figure it out. And I said, well, can you just test me? I think I'm bleeding inside. They're like, okay, we'll test your blood, whatever. And
is that what pharmacists do? They go straight to like, I'm bleeding inside, I'm dying. Is that what happens?
No, but, I mean, I do sometimes tell my doctors how to be the doctor for me, but everybody should be advocating for themselves. So I I reach out. I mean, I get my blood tested, and they call my husband frantically. Hey, we can't get a hold of your wife. She is in critical numbers. I'm like, what? What are you talking about? And I finally get a hold of them. They tell me, call your primary care doctor. So I call them, and they're like, you just go straight to the emergency room. You could bleed to death. I'm like, what?
You're
How
right.
could I
Oh my
bleed to
God.
death? And so I go to the emergency room, and what my problem was is I had really low platelets. That's the part of your blood that's responsible for clotting. So if I had gotten in a car accident on the way to the hospital and started bleeding, I would not have stopped. I would have simply just bled to death. So once I get there, well, that first test had showed I had 12 platelets, which is bad because the normal is 150 to 400. And I was at
Wow.
12.
Scary.
By the time they tested
Really
me
scary.
in the emergency room, I was at 3. I essentially had no ability to clot at that point. And
Wow.
they test me for all the causes of what this could be. Ultimately decide my diagnosis is ITP, which stands for immune thrombocytopenia. But back then they didn't know it was an autoimmune condition. And it was idiopathic thrombocytopenia, which means we have no idea why you're sick.
Thanks.
But now they know it's autoimmune. And the real problem became I had to take prednisone. There was no other way I would survive. I would just bleed to death if I didn't take this amazing, miraculous drug that causes more side effects than any other. So I was super
So it's
grateful.
amazing on one side, life-saving, and then takes you down on the other side.
This drug saved my life. Like, I would not be here today if it weren't for modern medicine and this medication. I'm so grateful it exists. And then I thought it was going to be 10 days of treatment and I'd be fine. But no, those 10 days, my blood tests were this roller coaster. Sometimes they would be high, and so I could start going lower off that medication. But then I'd hit a point where I'd have to go back up again because my blood test would drop. And so I was just on this roller coaster of high doses, low doses, high. And it was horrible. And my doctor said, we're either going to take out your spleen or you have to do chemotherapy because this drug's not working.
Wow. I lost your audio. That's okay. Here we go. Got it. Gotcha.
You hear me now? You can hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So I couldn't decide which was worse, to lose an organ or to go on chemo. But I thought losing an organ was a lot more permanent solution, problem. So I thought, I can try chemo first.
Wow.
So I did the chemo, and thankfully
Which
it worked.
Easy.
And it wasn't easy.
It did.
It was on its own a horrible experience. But it allowed me to get off the prednisone, and that's what I was most grateful for. And I've been in remission, cross my fingers, for 7 years now. So yes, and it was amazing. But I had the worst experience with all those side effects. And so I wanted to help people with the prednisone side effects. And so that's how I became the prednisone pharmacist.
I love that. You know, that's what we, our pain to our passion. And you are definitely personified that. And your videos are fantastic. So if you're here because you are taking prednisone, thinking you need to, or know someone who has, like in my case, make sure you're following Dr. Megan over on YouTube, because just some views that have almost 100,000 views some videos that have almost 100,000 views. So they're entertaining, but they're so informative. And how you make prednisone entertaining, like that's magic all by itself. I need a class on that, the master class on that afterward. But let's talk about it as it relates to menopause, because that's how you and I started connecting on this. And there are there's quite a few symptoms once you're taking prednisone, but some of them really mimic the experience of menopause, like weight gain, mood swings, high blood sugar, and osteoporosis. So I kind of like to dig down. Maybe we should just say really quickly what prednisone is.
Yeah.
So people understand.
So prednisone, this amazing medication, is a steroid anti-inflammatory drug. So it's derived from cortisol, our body's naturally occurring hormone that helps us deal with stress. and they figured out a way to put it in a pill, and that's called prednisone. So it's basically cortisol. So whenever you hear prednisone or dexamethasone or hydrocortisone or methylprednisolone, just think cortisol. It's the same thing. It turns into cortisol once your body can
But
use it. It is
that's
cortisol essentially.
the most amplified superpower level, correct?
Yeah.
And
So your
that's
body's
where comes
normally,
inflammation.
yeah, your body's normally making 2.5 milligrams equivalent of prednisone cortisol. This one says 20. This is basically 10 times what your body normally makes. I took 225 at one point. I took
Holy schmoly.
100 times what my body normally makes.
Wow.
And so it is all of those things you've always heard about, cortisol, the weight gain, all of the things, amplified, literally on steroids.
On steroids. It's hard. Steroids overused become a terrible weakness, right? They become dangerous, or if you need them, but over time can really do some harsh things. I noticed in my own grandmother with her lung disease, how she was just like 410 or something, and she just puffed up so much. And in menopause, we're always talking about cortisol and belly fat and those kinds of things from stress. But then here's my little grandmother, who is just a firecracker, and then she's just like a little round ball because of the weight gain and water retention and all the things that were happening in her body, probably due to that cortisol.
Exactly.
So we know we've got these symptoms, things that are happening when you take cortisone, but it is life-saving, but it's still really uncomfortable if you have to take it over time. And so let's talk a little bit about the nutrients that get drained from your body, which also I think is a great segue into osteoporosis, right? That losing our bone density, because that happens in menopause also. That's a huge experience that women have that we're always looking out for. So that combination, if you're in menopause and you need to take prednisone for whatever reason, short-term, long-term, what do we do with that? We're already losing nutrients. We're already losing bone density.
Exactly. So what's important to realize about cortisol is Mother Nature designed it to help us survive disasters. That's why Mother Nature has it. She wants the species to continue. And so her goal is to have you use up all of your savings accounts to get through this immediate disaster. So a disaster would be a famine or a war or a cheetah chasing you. Those momentary, short-term, really bad things that might kill you. But let's preserve your life and get you through this. And so she's spending the savings account that is in your bones, in your muscles, in your liver, and then using up those reserves to give you that ability to run away, right? So all of these reserves of energy in your liver, in your muscles, is turned into sugar. So your muscles can run.
Hence the high blood sugar.
And then it's giving you higher blood pressure so that your heart can pump fast enough to get the blood to all those places. And then it's taking all of those amazing nutrients you've been storing up in your bones and using them now. It does not care about long-term at all. And so you may have
because it's in fight or flight, right?
It's in fight or flight.
It's responding to fight or flight.
Just survive. Okay. It is the trigger often for fight or flight. Cortisol either can respond to fight or flight, or it can trigger fight or flight. They're all related. And so it's beautiful how we can have a savings account in our bodies that Mother Nature designed.
The way you explain that is so good. Yeah.
It's horrible that, oh great, now that I have to take this medication, or now that I'm in this horribly stressful situation, I'm using these things up, and now I'm going to have all these side effects. So specifically, we'll talk about the muscles first. Women often have muscle loss, and that's compounding upon the natural muscle loss of aging, right?
Sarcopenia.
The sarcopenia. Then there's the bone loss, which prednisone causes more bone loss than any other drug. And it happens fast. I, for some reason in pharmacy school, was under the assumption that it was kind of a long-term problem to worry about, but there's a huge loss in the first 3 months alone. And so people need to be taking precautions quickly. And the doctors who prescribe prednisone the most, they publish a guideline for all the doctors who prescribe prednisone saying these are the things you should do to help your patients to be protected. And some of the things in there won't surprise you. Exercise, eat a good diet, those things.
Lifestyle.
Yeah. Lifestyle changes, including quitting smoking, quitting drinking. But to me, it's the calcium and vitamin D that they recommend. They have shown that the calcium and vitamin D supplementation alone can help support the bones while taking this medication. But they haven't looked deeper into the science for the other things needed to make those work properly to have actual strong bones. So those are just the bone loss and the muscle loss. You want me to keep going, or do you want to comment?
Those are huge.
Those are huge.
Weight gain?
Weight gain, okay.
Big conversation around here.
Yes, so 1 dose is enough to completely deregulate the metabolism in a person. Just 1 dose. They measured 250 different blood markers of metabolism and the sleep-wake cycle, and 1 dose threw off more than half of them.
Wow.
And so what it's doing, back to the cheetah chasing us, is it's releasing those sugars. And so it's turning your on switch on, but not ever putting on the brake. Like you're perpetually in go, and there's no break. The hunger signals, like all of the adipokines is what they're called, the chemical messengers that help you decide whether you're full, whether you're hungry, where to put the fat, what to do with the fat, all of those things are being totally deregulated. And so you're being told eat, and not just eat Oreos, eat high sugar, high fat, high salt things. And there's no break saying, oh, you're full, you can stop. Because Mother Nature thinks you are running away from this dangerous situation, and all you have time to do is just grab the berries off the tree and shove them in your mouth and just keep running. That's all you've got time for. And so you're using up all of those things. Your blood sugar's super high, and your body is being depleted. Things are being taken from it. So
it kind of sounds like pregnancy, like with the babies is just like draining all the nutrients, all of the good stuff out of your body.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're having a leech. And normally it's, like the healthy one is
the cutest
baby,
little leech ever. Yeah.
But in this case, it's a drug, and the drug is making your body leach calcium, leach vitamin D, leach melatonin. But the important one you were asking about with the weight gain is chromium. It's making your body pee out chromium. And most people don't ever think about chromium much. It's not a high topic of conversation.
No.
It's a metal mineral that you normally have a very small amount of. It's not like calcium where you have like tons of it. Like you need so much to build your bones. It's a very small amount that you need. And normally it's this nice, gentle amount that's floating around in your blood, but prednisone makes you pee it out. And why do you care? Because insulin doesn't work properly without it. And insulin is necessary to open the door to let the glucose into the cell. So that's one of the ways it's keeping the blood sugar high, is it's not allowing insulin to do its job. There's magic behind me.
Can you see that?
Happened.
Yes, look at that. It's like, yes, Dr. Megan, do your
Amen.
thing. Amen. Preach.
So
the prednisone preacher. Maybe that's a new thing now.
There we go. Prednisone preacher. Yes, preach. So we have this chromium that nobody thinks about, except for a few researchers in Israel 25 years ago. They looked and they saw, oh my goodness, if we give somebody a specific kind of chromium called chromium picolinate, who's got steroid-induced diabetes, that means you have such high blood sugar because of the prednisone that you're now in full diabetes. If we give those people chromium picolinate, it reverses it. It was like
Wow.
mind blowing to hear that it's so simple. Prednisone is stealing these nutrients, they give it back, the people are fine. It's
Wow.
so simple and nobody's talking about it. And they
No.
like people are suffering humongous weight gain. I haven't even mentioned this. Moon face, this big round face, because
That's what my
there's this
grandmother had.
fat redistribution. It's taking fat from your arms and your legs, putting it on your face, your belly, and even your back of your neck,
Yeah.
shoulder area,
Yeah.
and create a buffalo hump.
Oh my.
And it's horrible, but some of it's because of the chromium, the loss of chromium. So if we
Wow.
just
And it
give
could
that
be
back,
solved with
it
that.
could be
Yes.
solved. And like when a researcher uses the word reversed, that's pretty strong language, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
pretty
Wow.
amazing.
That's amazing. I feel like it's Dr. Megan, the science lady. You know, I love hearing this, but it's important because when you're going through perimenopause or menopause, you're already struggling, suffering with a lot of the things that you're talking about that prednisone creates. And if you find yourself in a situation where you have to take prednisone, maybe you have pneumonia or this incredible rash thing or whatever you need, short term, long term, it's important to understand how you can take some actions to support yourself while it's doing the magic. But it's so crazy, like all those things it does, it solves for inflammation, but it almost seems like it creates
It
inflammation, you
creates
know.
its entire.
Oops.
So
Yeah, it's
it's amazing. It's it literally saved my life, and it literally ruined my life as
yeah.
well. It made me have this big round moon face when I was applying to become a professor at a medical school. And it was so hard to have the confidence to walk up there and give a job talk presentation in front of medical school professors and students. Like it was horrible. I survived, thank heavens.
You survived and thrived, and now you're out there sharing the gospel of how to navigate, which I think is so awesome, so awesome. So all right, and the way we really connected was about nutrients, and I know you've created a special supplement to help put nutrients back in people's bodies. We were talking about MenoWell bars, how that's something that people can really eat and embrace when they're taking prednisone to help get off that Oreo train. And so tell us about how the supplement you created helps, and can you take this supplement if you're not on prednisone, because it sounds like a really great thing, or is it just too much? Oops, did you
I
catch that?
I missed the last sentence.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. I just said we talked about getting nutrients back into our bodies, right? And back into the body when someone is taking prednisone. And so I know you have your own supplement that you created because of your own situation. And is it a supplement that can help anyone or just people on prednisone? Is it too amazingly blown out fantastic for just regular old folks, or do you have to be on prednisone to take it, and how does it help?
Yeah. So I designed Neutronized Zone for people on prednisone, but the problems that it solves affect lots of people. So it's got a morning and a bedtime, and I'm going to talk about those. So it's helping with those main side effects we talked about, the bone loss. So it's giving back all of those nutrients that you absolutely need while taking prednisone, or if you just are at risk of bone loss anyway, if you are underweight, if you are of European descent, if you are over the age of 65, those are all individual risk factors. If you have an autoimmune disease like rheumatoid arthritis, if you're taking this prednisone drug, all of those worsen your risk for bone
Mm-hmm.
loss, osteoporosis,
Right.
broken bones, nursing homes, joint replacements, all of those horrible consequences.
Right.
And so it has all the nutrients, not just calcium and vitamin D, but also vitamin K2 and K7 and magnesium and on and on. There's so many really amazing ingredients there just for bone loss. So if all you wanted to do is support your bones, this would be fantastic for you. But it's
Hmm.
not just that. I also have that chromium picolinate in there to help with metabolism. So if you're going through the changes in your metabolism that we do as women, and you suddenly are having blood sugars and weight gain and all of the things, I guess we didn't actually cover this. I want to talk about hormones.
Okay.
We didn't really talk about hormones.
Let's talk about it.
Cortisol is a hormone that is only a few molecules different than estrogen and progesterone and testosterone and the other sex hormones. They're only a few molecules different. Like, we only need a few enzymes to do their job to turn cortisol into progesterone, or turn progesterone into cortisol. It's your body takes one and turns it into the other, and they go back and forth in this cascade of hormones.
Interesting.
And so if you happen to have unregulated or out of balance estrogen or progesterone, it might be affecting your cortisol levels. And so you might be having these symptoms because your cortisol is too high in relation to your other hormones. So all of the things I'm about to tell you are basically true, but maybe not to the same extent as somebody who's replacing their steroid with their cortisol with prednisone or another steroid. And so it's true that the hormone changes, loss of estrogen and progesterone, are going to affect your bones. That alone affects your bones.
We know
and so
that.
You need to be giving it back.
Right.
And the cortisol is worsening it, right? And then the weight gain, it's related to cortisol, but it's also related to the estrogen and progesterone changes. And taking prednisone or another steroid is affecting those too. And so chicken or the egg, right? Like, it's all this cascade of hormones between each other. And yes, it's both. It's chicken and the egg.
Chicken and the egg, yeah.
And
no, it's chicken and no eggs,
and
Megan.
No more
and
eggs.
Menopause.
Shriveling up eggs.
Done. Empty. Store closed. Whoop.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah. So we've got to give those back.
Yeah.
Whether it's caused by the drug or caused by stress or caused by just the hormonal changes we go through in life.
Wow.
So yeah, we've got,
Huge.
and then I didn't, all right, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. What do you want to say?
I didn't mention the bedtime bottle. So a lot of women.
Does it help you sleep? That's all we care about, Megan.
Yes, ma'am.
Because if it doesn't, don't talk about it.
That's why I made it. Because when I took prednisone, that was my worst side effect that really affected my life, was the insomnia. The insomnia is the number one tweeted side effect of prednisone, because like, there's no shame in talking about it, right? Like, it's not my fault. The drug made me do it, and I'm not sleeping, and it's early in the morning. I'm doom scrolling, and I'm just going to talk about this drug that's making me stay awake.
Right.
So in that study I told you, where one dose was enough to throw off the metabolism, they also studied the circadian rhythm. And because prednisone is mimicking cortisol normally starts out high in the morning, just like the sun. And as the day goes by, it goes lower and lower and lower until next to nothing by the time you go to bed at night. And the opposite is happening with melatonin. It's like the moon. So cortisol is like the sun, and melatonin is like the moon. So when you are getting ready for bed, it's going high. And as the night goes on, it gets lower and lower as cortisol kicks in right there when you wake up in the morning. And so we have to.
Do you have kids? Because you explain things so well.
I do. I have 5 kids.
That was a trick question, because I didn't know that. But that is so great to think about how cortisone and melatonin work. You know, cortisone rises like the sun, and then melatonin rises like the moon. So good. So good. Okay,
like
keep going.
It's easy to remember.
Yeah.
So when you take prednisone, this normal rhythm is now off the charts. And in response, like, they are yin and yang. When one goes high, the other's low. When one goes low, the other's high. But the melatonin doesn't catch up. It can't compensate for that. And so it's like that study said, it was completely suppressed. That rhythm, that cycle, the circadian rhythm was
Yeah.
completely suppressed by one dose. Just imagine what happens when somebody's on it for years,
Right.
right? So that's why it's causing the sleep issues. So people need not just melatonin supplementation, but also the building blocks for melatonin. So things like magnesium is a builder. Like you have to have magnesium to make melatonin, but magnesium itself is amazing for people on prednisone because it's not just the sleep, it's also helping with your mood, the mood changes. It's helping regulate that, helping you feel calm and stable. And then it helps with the bones. So magnesium, like if you did nothing else, I would tell you go take magnesium glycinate. I like anybody in America who's eating food in America is not getting enough magnesium and needs to be supplementing magnesium. It's really hard to get enough magnesium from the food grown in America now because the soils are so depleted. And so if nothing else, go get some magnesium glycinate and take that every day. I do.
You heard that right here from Dr. Megan. This is, I almost feel like if we swapped out the word prednisone and just put in perimenopause, menopause, it's almost like the exact same thing.
Exactly.
So interesting. Wow.
I think it is. You can basically switch those words. It's just prednisone can be even worse because people can take even higher doses.
Right.
And I've never seen anyone with moon face. That's the other thing you're never going to see with menopause.
Moon face.
That is like straight up prednisone.
I just, when you say that, it makes me think about my sweet little grandmother. And she was like a little chipmunk, like just so round. Megan, I did do some research around this, and it seems, and we're not giving any medical advice, even though Megan is a pharmacist, that it seems safe, speak to your own doctor, to take HRT if you have to take prednisone as well. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah.
Dr.
Okay.
Megan?
So HRT, I love this
Hormone
topic. Had I
replacement
not become the prednisone pharmacist, I probably would have had something to do with HRT, hormone replacement therapy. Back when I was in pharmacy school, the big, huge Women's Health Initiative study came out, where before then, all of medical science believed that every woman should be taking estrogen, and that's going to cure everything. It's going to prolong her life, prevent heart disease, prevent osteoporosis, keep her beautiful and young, whatever. Like it was the cure all for everything.
Right.
And so they did this study with estrogen that wasn't our body's estrogen. It was horse estrogen.
Premarin, yes.
Premarin, pregnant urine.
Mares, yes.
Like,
on women who were postmenopausal, by the way.
Already postmenopausal. And they decided that the results of a study on something that's not even in our bodies should apply to every form of estrogen on every form of woman. And that is not true. And so I loved learning all about the naturally occurring hormones, estradiol, estriol, estrone, or estriol. But I like to say it that way so people can hear. Estradiol is 2. Estrone is 1. There's a O-N-E in there.
O-N-E, 1.
And estradiol, I said 2. Estriol. So E3, E2, and E1. Those are so much closer because they're the exact same thing that your body naturally makes. And so giving those back does support your bones, does support you. And your question was, can you take it while on prednisone? And I think prednisone has been shown to throw off hormones. We haven't even talked about this cool thing. Prednisone can either turn off periods if you're actually menstruating and you think you're pregnant and you're not, or it can cause heavy bleeding in anyone, whether you're postmenopausal or not. Suddenly, like these 70-year-old women are like, pretty sure I finished that 20 years ago. What is happening to me?
Not fair.
Yeah. And just make pregnancies miserable. And so, yes, getting your hormones tested, getting hormone replacement while on prednisone, great idea.
Good. Hear to
like
hear.
working
Okay,
with a
we have a
doctor.
question.
Hmm.
And if you have a question, post them here. I'll keep Dr. Megan here a little bit longer. The question is, I have a male child who's taken prednisone and has trouble winding down at night. Can children take your supplements?
Yes, I've had children take my supplement, and we just cut the dose in half, depending on their body weight. So if they're like less than 100 pounds, we do half the dose.
Got it. Reach out to Dr. Megan directly on Instagram or on YouTube for more information on that. So yeah, ask any questions here that you didn't ask your doctor or didn't think to ask. We have a few more minutes. Okay, how about a couple of tips really quickly? I know you've got stuff
Hmm.
to do too, that you want to share with our audience about prednisone and menopause or magnesium or all the good things. I don't know, anything that you have, because this has been so amazing. And I'm going to watch this again and I'm going to send it to my mom. And I think it's just important. Let's make sure if you know someone taking prednisone that you share this recording. It'll be on our page at My MenoWell, because I know it will help someone. I know it will. Go ahead, Dr.
Yeah.
Megan. A couple closing tips here.
Closing tips. So often doctors aren't telling you enough when it comes to taking prednisone. They're either in a big hurry or they don't think about the long-term consequences. And I want everybody who's prescribed prednisone or any of these other steroids like methylprednisolone, Medrol, to really ask questions of your doctor, because I've discovered that they are way overprescribed. And there's not a lot of evidence for a lot of the reasons people are getting it, and then they're suffering horribly. It is literally the number one most harmful drug. It causes more side effects than any other. And doctors, or especially like urgent care doctors, hand it out like candy. And it's not. It is harmful. And so if your doctor prescribes one of these, like a Medrol dose pack, for example, looks like this. I'll show you. Medrol dose pack looks like this. If your doctor prescribes that for any infectious disease a kid could bring home from school, don't take it. Like, talk to your doctor, make sure they have evidence, but there's literally no evidence that it's going to help with bronchitis, cough, flu, RSV, COVID, strep, cough, cold, nothing. It helps with nothing. And they will hand it out for every single one of those conditions with no evidence of benefit. So that is the first thing, is if your doctor prescribes this medication, be sure to find out precisely how confident they are that it's actually going to help you. Because often it's really just I don't know what else to give you here, have some steroids. They really don't have anything better. Like, for example, for a cough and cold, honey in a tea, like warm water, is more effective than this drug. But doctors hand it out
And you're
and
not
give
even
people.
against drugs, but you're just
No,
calling out that
it
this
saved
drug
my
is.
life.
Yes.
I'm so grateful it exists, but it's overprescribed, and I want to fight back against that. Like, make sure you get fully informed consent. That's my first tip.
Okay. Got it.
Fully informed. And then my second tip is that there are things you actually can do to counteract the side effects. You don't have to just suffer them. For the insomnia, you can take melatonin. For the weight gain, you can take chromium. For the bone loss, you can take calcium, vitamin D, and all the other things. Like, you don't have to just sit there and let it leach all the goodness from your body and from your life. You can actually do something about it. So do stuff.
So do stuff.
Yeah.
I feel a chromium bar coming down. A new flavor. If you see a silver box, it's chromium flavor.
The chrome. You need a chrome, like, metallic-y color on it. Yeah.
It's a MenoWell times Dr. Megan collaboration. Oh my gosh. Okay, awesome. All right, one more. One powerhouse. More. Anything you've got left?
So then, if you're going to be on it longer than like a week, there are long-term consequences, and some of which are irreversible. And so there are things you should be checking, doctor's visits you should be making. And it's kind of a long list. So I could share it here. Or I have a prednisone checklist that goes through all of the things that you need to be doing. things with your eyes, your bones, your heart, your blood sugar. Like it's a long list. So it's my prednisone checklist, and it's all evidence-based. It's all based on science to make sure that you're following up when your doctor's kind of dropping the ball and not taking those precautions to prevent osteoporosis, glaucoma, blindness, and all of those horrible complications that can happen from prednisone.
Okay, where can they find that checklist?
Well, I can drop a link in just a second. Actually, just right this second I can.
Okay.
And then you can also go to my YouTube channel, my website, prednisonepharmacist.com, and it's on every single page because it's so valuable. People really have found it so helpful. Tens of thousands of people have downloaded it and used it.
Yeah. Awesome. Dr. Megan, the prednisone pharmacist, I'm so glad you were able to come today. This is an unusual topic for us at the MenoLounge, but because I was touched personally by it, and I just love your spirit and how authentic and expert you are in this topic, not to mention passionate because of your background, but your own experience. I really wanted to share this with women in menopause, and especially because the symptoms were like the same thing. It's so bizarro. So let's get educated. Let's do the research. Follow Dr. Megan on all the platforms so you can understand more and also help someone else. Today just might be the day where it's not for you, but it's definitely for someone you love. So Be sure to share this. Dr. Megan, thank you. I'll see you at our next business thing soon.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Same. All right. Be well, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.